Hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you're joining from. Well, I'm Mudit, and with me I have Arush, who's from IIT Guwahati. Let me quickly go and check across our the YouTube channel of CAC if you are streaming live. If you can hear me, that's perfect. Just put a comment there so we know you're there. I can see Rohan's comments. Priyansh is asking. Rohan has an interesting question to start with. Is anyone interested in the intersection of AI and biology? Quite a phenomenal combination in itself, and people are exchanging thoughts. That's a great thing, by the way. You can feel free to drop an introduction of yourself, what you do. The idea behind that will be that in case there is somebody who's interested to collaborate with you post this session, you can do that. It's a good point. Everybody here is all interested in generative AI, LLM, and would have some context around AI, so you might find some relevant audience. Welcome to this session. With me I have Arush, and to give a very quick context about this particular session, what we're going to cover here, I believe each one of you would have received an email, so you have some context. But to give you a gist, basically the session is about introducing you to the bootcamp. So you know that the common issues that you may have when you're getting started with a remote setup, those issues will be resolved in this session. You can understand what you can expect from the session in a more comprehensive manner. You'll know what to expect. You'll also get to know what CCIT Guwahati is, what pathway is. So that's the session about. It's not a, I mean, yeah, the introductory session about us is limited to the first 5 minutes. The rest is about you and about the coursework. So that is all about it. I see hi from Ashish, Bia, Priyansh. So welcome everyone. To also give you some interesting context, let's dive right into it. Um, by the way, Arush, would you like to say hello to the audience out here?
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
on mute,
right.
by the way.
Hi everyone. I'm Arush. Currently, I'm the analytics head at the Consulting and Analytics Club IIT Guwahati. Uh, so as you may guys know, that we are collaborating with Pathway to organize this bootcamp, LLM bootcamp. So yeah, I'm sure you will enjoy learning and growing in this bootcamp, and we have Mudit sir on our side. He is like marketing. He's in marketing position at the Pathways, and yeah. So if I just want to talk about LLM is like a very booming field currently. Most of the current research papers, like majority of them, are in the field of large language models, both in the field of computer vision and natural language processing. So yeah, I'm sure like from this bootcamp, you would learn all those insight and technical skills, which would help you to further move and dive deeper into this field. So yeah, uh, and yeah, welcome. Welcome you, sir.
Well, thanks, and please feel free to call me Mudit, everyone here.
Okay,
By
okay.
the way, just a small correction. I'm not 100% into marketing. There are folks on this call in the background who are actually pretty much adept and way more of an expert than me in this field. I come from a background where I have, for those who are in the AI space, you might have consumed some of the things that I've created in the past, which are around AI education, around data science. Built a 3 lakh plus AI community in the past, but that's for some time else. Let's dive into the session, talk about what we're covering today. So in this session, we'll cover, start off with a quick intro of CCITG. So Arush, why don't you quickly give a walkthrough of what your club does?
Okay. So yeah, right. We are a consulting and analytics club. So broadly, these clubs offer you insights into two things: consulting and analytics. Um, we try to give you an integration of both of these domains. In the analytics, since it's a session on LLM, so I'll talk about more for the analytics part. So we um, give you like we launch courses, we give you courses, and technically our aim is to make a stronger AI community. Our club launch courses, and I mean, um, yeah, and I mean, collaborate with great companies like Pathway and other companies to bring you more such courses which are relevant to the current time. And yeah, these courses will certainly, our aim is that these courses will help you, um, so that you are just right into this domain, and yeah, you are like present, like you know what is happening in this day and age of AI. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for mentioning that. And a quick addition to those who are joining from other parts of the world, IIT is like a group of elite technical institutes within India. It's like considered the Ivy Leagues of India, and Guwahati is one of the old IITs, which makes it among the good IITs in India. And in fact, in the course cohort, if you are joining not from IIT Guwahati, you'd be keen to know, you'll be maybe happy to know that this cohort does not only represent folks from IIT Guwahati. We have people from across a lot of IITs and a few folks from other countries as well. I was recently conversing with someone from Argentina yesterday. They were interacting with me on Discord. So we do have a diverse audience out there. You will see professionals and students alike. So do feel free to be very active during the coursework. We have a Discord link also. Thanks, Piyush, for mentioning that you're from IIT Gandhinagar. Um, we have people from um, IIT Delhi, IIT Kanpur, Kharagpur, the ones that I saw on our Discord. Uh, that's Jorge, I believe. Bienvenidos to the session. Thanks. See a hi from Argentina. So let's go and talk briefly about what Pathway is. Pathway it's an open source framework that it's a data processing engine at the crux of it that supports unified workflows for batch streaming and LLM applications. So what is batch? What is streaming? Consider something like Google Maps to be streaming, where you have an AI model and that's reacting right away in real time to the insights that is coming from what's happening outside. It's like the applications which run on a streaming mode, they learn like we humans do in real time. And batch is quite similar to maybe ChatGPT, where you're saying that okay, I'll collect the data, I'll do some transformation, some processing on top of it, and then I'll push it forward or whatever I want to do with it. That's batch and streaming. And LLM is large language model, which is where this particular boot camp is all centered around. It's an open source framework, the fastest one out there. It's essentially built on Rust, but exposed via Python. So when you're writing this any code on Pathway, even while building applications here, you are essentially building an application that works on Rust, but it's exposed via Python. So technically, you don't need to know Rust to benefit from the power of Rust. That's the beauty of it. And a very key essence of this boot camp, as you may notice, is around the real time aspect here. So what is real time? Basically, like, talk about building an LLM application, let's say for an e-commerce platform. Let's say there's a very famous platform in India called as Mintra. It's an e-commerce platform. I was seeing recently they have a chatbot option, I believe. Now, let's say you're a developer who's hired by an e-commerce platform and you want to build an application which leverages the power of LLMs, but reacts to what the real-time data is. So let's say, for example, in Mintra, you can ask, give me the sneakers from the past, red sneakers, which have gone on discount over the past 1 day. Now, that is something that if you ask on ChatGPT, the answer that you will get is, sorry, my data. I'm sure you all must have used ChatGPT. So it will typically say that, sorry, my knowledge dates back to, I think, April 2023 or 2021, depending on which LLM and model you're using, so on and so forth. But when it comes to real time use cases where companies have to use it, where you as a founder would want to use it, or as a researcher would want to use it, then you would want it to be more intelligent and learn things from your custom data. And if that data is real time, even better. So with through this, by the end of this particular boot camp, you will pretty much be able to build such applications on your own, which are production ready. What does that mean? These are, while you as a mandatory activity of this boot camp, you will have to create a project which you will be posting on GitHub. But let's say you have to, even you get hired by a company or you're starting something of your own, the frameworks, every single thing that we are using within this particular boot camp, they're all used by companies at scale and they're all ready for production. So you can use it even if you get hired. So that's a good thing to have on your paper, on your resume. These QR codes that you see here around Pathway, they are of the GitHub repositories out here. We'll be using them pretty much going forward. So if you want, you can scan them now, or you can also find the link for it as we go ahead in the session, in the coursework. I see a few more people who are interacting here. There's somebody from Forensic Sciences University, Cybersecurity National Forensic Sciences University. Sorry, that's a very interesting field to be in. Um, so while we are interacting here, feel free to observe and connect with others who are there on this session. So course outline, what we'll be covering, how will be covering. Basically, it starts with the introduction to LLMs and generative AI. LLMs is nothing but large language model, something like the GPT of ChatGPT. That's not something like GPT of a ChatGPT is an LLM. It's a large language model, a model that can do a lot of things because it's trained on a vast amount of data and uses specific architectures that enables it to perform quite well and to your prompts, like the inputs that you will give it. For example, help me write a resume. It will give you a resume. So we'll start with the introduction here. So even if you are absolute beginner, you can explore it. Before that, once you are the course link I'll be sharing in the next slide, so you can scan that, you can visit it. It's also being sent to you on emails. If you haven't received it already, you don't have to worry, because we can send it again. But yeah, so we'll start off with the introduction. The prerequisite for this particular bootcamp is primarily, if you know Python, you should be able to build a project by the end of the coursework. Naturally, if you know additional things like you have familiarity with open source and Docker, you'll find things much easier. Why Docker? For those of you who do not know, Docker helps in containerization. Basically, if you are interacting with any open source framework out there, they may be built for the most popular operating systems out there, but let's say you have installed random libraries on your system and you're using some particular operating system which is not so popular. Now, in that case, the open source framework may not work so efficiently, or may through some dependency errors or anything. So those errors that you would typically call like it works on my machine, those kind of things are well avoided with the help of Docker. So we have added links for that in the introductory part of the coursework, so you can go through it if you haven't studied that already. That's not a part of the coursework because the coursework focuses primarily on LLMs and giving you the capability to build hands-on stuff on your own. But you are pretty much recommended to go through those links in the early days. The coursework is not extremely mathematics driven, which makes it quite easy to be covered in a 3 week period. The goal is that in the first 1.5 weeks, you'll cover the theory part of it, and the last week will be around the hands-on application. Because let's say you are working with a new framework, it's very much expected that you will go and encounter some challenges around it, some random errors, everything. So the earlier you start, the better it is. And so let me give you a quick outline. The introduction is the first part. The next part is around word vectors and vector embeddings. It's like the foundational block of large language models, and even customizing large language models for specific use cases. All of that is done with the help of vectors. Then we jump into prompt engineering and token limits. What is prompt engineering? If you do not know, it's like basically, like we say, right, it's a skill to how to Google, right? Similar to that, in the case of LLMs, large language models, prompt engineering is how best you can interact with something like ChatGPT or any other large language model to get what you want. Now, to get what you want technically within prompt engineering also, because LLMs are quite powerful. On today's date, they can do a lot of things. So prompt engineering can be for understanding how best you can generate images, how best you can generate a combination of images and text, or how best you can generate a code. Okay, but this particular coursework will primarily focus on textual aspects of it, and which actually will take you to a significant mileage ahead in case you're already a power user of something like ChatGPT. You will see some common errors that you might be making so far and would probably use it in a much more efficient manner. The next thing is, okay, fair enough, you have now understood how to basically go about I'm talking about the point number 4. Let's say you have now understood how to interact with an LLM, but now you're a developer, you're an engineer, and you have to build these applications to solve some meaningful solutions out there. These can be business solutions around, let's say, improving the customer service or improving the onboarding for even the coursework. For example, I can build an application where it knows everything that is within the coursework and can answer doubts basis with the help of LLMs. Or something which is like the Mintra example that we discussed, the e-commerce example. So in that particular case, how would you go about building it? That is basically done with the help of RAG. RAG is what it is. We'll cover that. It's called retrieval augmented generation. We'll cover it. And enterprise LLM architecture. I'm pretty sure many of you would end up working for companies sometime down the line, maybe now in a couple of years, or you're already working for them, or working on some research project. So, and understanding what really makes the components of an enterprise LLM, that is important for you to be a better engineer and a better developer. So that is what we'll also cover in this fourth part, and then we'll jump into the slightly, like, depending on how much adept you are with hands-on development, this could be tricky or super easy, depending on, again, your familiarity with technologies already. But the last part is around hands-on development of real-time LLM applications plus the hackathon. So this is what the coursework covers. Now I have a quick question that I would want to answer. So, so let's take there's a yes and no question. Maybe Arush, you can answer it. By Piyush, does LLM use neural network model? So you can maybe answer that.
Yeah, it uses.
Yeah, so we can dive into its depth, but probably this is not the best time for it, because within the coursework it is covered, so you'll find it there. The next important question is, do we have to come up with a problem as well to make a project, or you will be providing it for us? We'll be giving you some tracks, basically some suggestive ideas that you can work on. But from day zero, if you can start thinking of minimalistic applications that use real-time data and combine it with the power of LLMs, that will be quite good. Okay. So that way, when you reach the end of the boot camp, you will be able to develop something on those lines. Or let's say, even if you are not able to think from day zero, you do not know if you will be able to build that. Okay, you're able to think, but you do not know if you'll be able to build. So once the course curriculum is released, you can spend some time, a good amount of time, to think what you should build as a solution. A general thing from a usability standpoint, a thumb rule is, like, if you are a founder or an engineer, you might want to focus on certain aspects rather than doing everything with one application, because everything for that, people may rather flock towards the existing solutions. But if you're solving one problem pretty well, better than others, that's a great thing. For example, um, quite recently, some engineers from India only, they were students. They developed this application that can help the local authorities in the times of crisis of a weather calamity or something. So what they did is, as a data point, they took the real time weather information, the map locations, the locations of NGOs around, shelter homes around, and a few other data points. And then that's like ingesting multiple, or adding multiple data sources is slightly more complicated. Okay, so but they were able to do it. They started well in time, and what they did is, they built a solution that will give, let's say I'm an administrator, I can go and ask, give me shelter homes or solutions for this particular query around this region, and it will give it. So those kind of things, like what they did there, in that case, they thought, okay, in the last moment, nobody's going to use ChatGPT or their application if they are a user, but an administrator might want to use. So those kind of last mile thinking, or one of the projects that we saw in the last, something that we also ran this course with IIT Bombay. Some of you might have been a part of it. So in that case, one of the projects that came out by a student from France, what they built is basically an application that was keeping that they used Trello API, as I recollect. Trello is a popular project management tool, and using that, they were sending application alerts, or LLM powered information within Slack. So let's say I'm from Pathway, we use Slack here, let's say, and we also use a project management tool, let's say Trello. So I could ask, okay, tell me which task I could assign to my team members. So it will look at the Trello board and suggest this is what you can assign. This is what is there. So these are some interesting use cases that you can think of. So what do you think? Just think as while as you can. Also think of the last mile execution, possibly. So that will be a good thing. And towards the end, I will share this particular QR code with you all. Okay, one quick thing while we're doing this, very important. I'm trying if I can zoom this, but yeah, cool. So you must scan this particular QR code here. This QR code is of the GitHub repositories that we will be using. So if you can visit it, that will be great. If you can start it, even better. That is a way for you to show your support to what we're doing at Pathway, and also to revisit this quite conveniently in the future. Pretty much similar to maybe, liking something, but yeah, it will really um, be a good step forward. Now, talking about the last step that we were discussing, this is the QR code for the coursework that we have published so far. So if you will visit that, you will be able to see the the coursework. So I'll share my screen and I'll take you through that. One second. So meanwhile, feel free to scan it if you're there already. Okay, and I'll share it from my end. Da, 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 da. Yep. So once you scan it, you'll be taken to this particular page, which is okay. Sorry. So copy publish link. Let me go to this one. So this is the coursework link that you'll be able to see from your end. Okay. So this is the introduction that you can see. Okay. We'll be adding the link for the kickoff session also here, so you can revisit it from here. The navigation is in such a format that on the left side of the coursework of this particular window, you'll be able to see what is already released and the subsections of it. For example, right now you can read about the timelines, the structure, what we're going to cover. It's a hybrid session. Like, by the way, we just have a few live sessions here. For example, this is one of those live sessions that we are conducting. We may or may not have a few more live sessions, but this is done with a very strategic way so that you don't have to feel overwhelmed that you have to join at this time itself. For example, for our friends joining from Argentina or the United States at this point in time, it's quite early in the morning and it may be clashing with their schedule. So when it's recorded, it's quite convenient for everybody. That's the goal here. Okay, sorry, I was focusing on this thing. So yeah, there are some rewards also towards the completion of the bootcamp. In no way they are like the key thing that you should be aiming for. The goal is just as a motivator to keep you encouraged. um, so all the graduates, they will be receiving a certificate, a t-shirt, and a swag. I mean a t-shirt, primarily. And depending again where you're coming from, let's say, if it is tactically possible, we'll get these things delivered to you. Certificates will be online, can be verified, and the top 9 graduates will be getting some awards also along with it. One more thing which is missing here, which I would add after this, is the top projects which are built towards the end of the hackathon. If they match a specific bar, they will be showcased on a blog within Pathways website. So if you're a developer or an engineer, that's a great thing to have it on your profile. That shows a lot of credibility that the makers of the framework itself are using it. This is something that we added it, got some really good response from the engineers who have participated in this coursework in the past. So that's something that we have kept. Okay. This is what it says. First 1 to 1.5 weeks are focused around learning prerequisites and building a solid foundation. And the last 2 weeks are around building hands-on development. Again, it's flexible. We'll be releasing most of the curriculum within this particular week itself. So you will be having access to it. But don't worry, take it as per your pace, whatever is convenient for you. It's kept quite light so you won't struggle. This is the course syllabus and everything. The instructors, you will be able to see who are the people who have contributed behind towards this particular coursework, who are they, what they've, and about pathway, so you know what it does, and a few action items. Now the first module around the introduction is there, so that you can go about it. And the next module will also be released either today or tomorrow, so you can start consuming it. Okay. Apart from that, one more thing that we must know is that we have a Discord link of pathway that is sent when you register, and that is also actually within this particular coursework link. So if you have access to it, once you have, yeah, if you have access to the coursework, you will be able to you will be able to find the link for Discord there and interact with people there. The first thing that you should do within the Discord is go and feel free to introduce yourself. Within any open source frameworks Discord, usually they'll have an introductions channel. Go and make an introduction of yourself, what you do. You might want to include the name of the institution you're affiliated with, or you can skip that. But the goal is you might want to talk about why you are in a particular community, what you aim to achieve out of it. And there's a specific channel for ITG Bootcamp as well. For all the queries that are specific to the bootcamp, you must ask your questions there. If they're on main, it becomes difficult for us to track, so it won't be answered most likely, or it may be. But as a recommendation and as a strong request, I would recommend that you go and ask your questions in the ITG Bootcamp session and channel. And one more important thing that you should know around the doubt asking part is that first off, we all are joining from different parts of the world. Christmas is right around the corner, so it's only natural that you know that you may expect some delay in responses if you're directly directing it to Pathways team. So for that reason, there are two things that we have done. Uh, some folks from the team of CAC IIT, they have already gone through the particular coursework. They're already building things on top of it, so they have made quite a progress, I would say, in hands-on understanding of the frameworks that we'll be using. So that way, they'll be adept enough to answer your questions. Apart from that, the second thing is, as an individual itself, there are two things that you must take care of very very strongly. I would recommend that. The first thing is that you must try to find answers for obvious questions on the internet. Many times we have seen that, let's say you're trying to run something and you're getting an error on your screen. Now it will say that this is the error. It will give a very complicated message if you're using something like a CLI, command line interface. But just read within it, see what error it is giving. Try to search on the internet. If you think that error is around using something like Docker or installing something famous, let's say a repository, then maybe other people would have encountered the same challenges, right? So go and ask it on Google, on ChatGPT, or wherever you, Bard, wherever. Yeah, Rohan is suggesting these platforms. You can go and actually ask there, and maybe most likely they'll give you answers in most cases. That will also not bottleneck your learning. Second thing that I would recommend is, if you're seeing any peer who's having doubts and you have already solved them, you came across it and now you have solved it, go ahead and answer it. It's a great way to contribute to a community, to become an enabler of a community without even being a part of the core contributors. That's a great practice as a whole, not specific to Pathway or other open source frameworks that you will be seeing here, but for any other framework, any tool that you'll be using. The more you contribute, the more people will get to know you, the more good collaborators you can possibly find. um, Now that's it from our end. I've We have a few questions that we can possibly take. So let's start one by one. So one question is, could you please keep the deadlines flexible as we have an NSEMS scheduled? So as a general rule, we won't be keeping the deadlines flexible, in the sense the goal is, I would be surprised, by the way, if any course creator on planet Earth will come and say that, hey, the deadlines we have mentioned, therefore no good reason, and they're flexible. They're actually kept there for a reason. Try to do things within that timeline. However, like if you are really struggling and there's something, then you can DM me. But we have no plans of extending the deadlines as of now. You can DM us if needed for further clarification. Um, the next question is. It's a generic question, not specific to the boot camp, but maybe Arush, you can take it. It's a very generic question, but yeah, since we have community members asking the questions here.
I mean, Rust is used in backend and it's like very fast. So yeah, many major companies uses Rust as its backend, like Pathways, even Hugging Face. So yeah, it is an essential component, but the Rust being the future of Gen AI, that there are other components as well. I suppose
Hmm.
so. Rust is one of the components, but there are other components as well. So all of them together, yeah, those might be said as future, like those whole components. Rust is one of the components. In the future, it might we might even get a better version. I say, but yeah, things are evolving. So yeah, currently Rust, I consider it is the best. Yeah.
Thanks for answering that. By the way, yes, as you rightly mentioned, there are other areas that you can possibly focus upon. Nowadays, people are, um, within LLM space, there are a lot of things that they're tackling. For example, how best you can, we are talking about RAG. There are components of RAG, various components. They are tackling specific aspects of it. In specific cases, people are also going further within the architecture of LLMs itself. For example, recent project, they said they are not using transformers; they're using a different architecture altogether, which is a major difference, major innovation. So that is one more thing. There are other aspects. That part, by the way, to give you some context, is covered within the bootcamp. Within the basics, what is already released, you'll find it there. So you will find an answer to that. There's a question: working in an AI based company as a product management intern in second year of your college, which is great. Want to continue in AI and product management both? Should I do the course to contribute more in my intern? That's a slightly so the role of PM in itself is slightly open ended usually, but yes, you can definitely do it because if you're able to. So first off, you if you the hands-on part, depending on how much adept you already are, could be very easy for you also if you have already are into development in a way. So that will give you some confidence that you can build for LLMs also, and as a PM you will be able to empathize better with your developers around how best they can go about developing certain projects. So the better clarity you have on the development side of things, the better PM you will be, obviously. All the rest of the modules which are except the hands-on module, for example, things we discussed, right? This thing, barring the fifth module, everything else contribute will contribute considerably to your journey as a product manager in the AI space. Now, again, what your company does specifically within the AI space, that would really affect in terms of your performance within this company. But in general, yeah, it will add value. Um, this is a question: if Gen AI is changing every day these days, how is this relevant in the longer run? I mean, would it be the case that this would be replaced soon, or is this something to stay for the long run? So this is a slightly open-ended question to answer, but what we can say right now is there are two things. One, yeah, a lot of things are being disrupted within AI space itself. What it will do, how it will disrupt multiple industries. We are seeing more and more things coming out. So as an engineer, you are definitely encouraged to go and learn continuously. But the thing about RAG and about LLM architecture that we're covering, about prompt engineering, about vector indexes and vector embeddings, these are very fun foundational things. Okay. It's like learning about transformers. I mean, even if let's say certain LLMs are not using transformers tomorrow, does knowing transformers help? It will definitely help. Similarly, RAG is like the de facto choice. If you want to custom put your LLMs in a custom use case, it's a de facto way in which companies go about it. Okay, now let's say OpenAI may give an RAG kind of feature within their own developer platform. Despite that, knowing this will significantly help you as a developer for various reasons, and I can dive into that already, but that may be slightly digressing at this point in time. Go through the coursework, you will find the answer to that on your own. When you come to the RAG module, you'll see how much foundational, and even the vector embeddings module, how much foundational that is to everything that you're seeing around. And yeah, learning continuously is a good habit to have. um Arush, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, these fundamentals, like, if in the future there's gonna be some new architectures introduced, obviously that architecture will also use these components as well. It's like LLM, most of the LLM uses transformers. So first, when the transformers was introduced, it was considered as like a groundbreaking thing. So after that, LLMs were introduced, and most of the LLMs uses transformers. So it might be possible. It is possible. I no, it's not. I think it will be that in the future, if there's say new architecture introduced that would cause a boom, I think the it would use all of these current architectures that we are currently using. So yeah.
Thanks for mentioning that. By the way, a shameless plug here. This the co-inventor of transformers, the T in ChatGPT, that's basically transformers, is a part of Pathways team as an angel. Lukasz Kaiser, he's also a part of OpenAI, as I understand right now, like primarily a part of OpenAI. And the CTO of Pathway, he has worked on the foundational uh, on the foundations of attention mechanism, which is very integral to um, what you see on LLMs right now. So they work with someone like Yoshua, Bengio, Geoff, Hinton, which is like the godfathers of AI. So yeah, the information that we're giving to you, even when you look at the first part or the course instructors part of things, you will see that they have been pretty much deep in the space. So the information that we are trying to give to you, we'll also be citing the live session that we did with IT Bombay, by the way. So you'll also have access to that. The things that you will be consuming, they're all like slightly thought through. So that's one level of other assurance and a shameless plug, as I said, at the end of the day. Anyway, um, are there any prerequisites for LLMs? The prerequisites are mentioned. So, for understanding the theoretical aspects here, by the way, um, till the point you do not go to development, even if you do not know Python, you can still go and understand these things as a product manager if you are in that space. But as an engineer, knowing Docker, knowing open source familiarity, knowing Python is it will be helpful. Now, for LLM, like if you have to fine tune it and all, that's a different thing altogether. That's not in the scope of this particular bootcamp. But for this bootcamp, this is what you need to know. All that is. Um, then, what is the deadline for the final project? Those details are there on the course link. It's towards the early January, so we have time, but that is when you have to develop and submit it finally. So that is the thing. Are there any research papers that we would have to read in this? Yes, cited. So by the way, yes, interesting thing. Within the coursework, from time to time, you will see something called as a bonus resource. What is a bonus resource? It's something which is, let's say, for attempting the quiz within the boot camp or while submitting the final project. Bonus resource is not a mandatory thing that will help you take there. It's like even if you have not covered it, you will still be able to do it, but they will contribute to your understanding of the overall subject. So you may find research papers there, you may find some in-depth resources out there. It's your choice if you'd like to go through it or not, depending on your bandwidth. But it's usually a good thing to do. Which RAG framework do you use? Um, that's a very specific question. We'll go further into it. By the way, it's the one that we have cited here, by the way, this particular link. But you want, you can go further into it, or like it's not so necessary right now. Can the Pathway IT Guwahati team tell us more about the system requirements? Do we need a, there's one more question on the same lines. Do we need a dedicated GPU? No, nothing of this is needed on these lines. Okay. So like even a basic PC should serve the purpose if you're able to install the libraries out there. If you want to basically check, you might want to try doing pip install pathway. That's I mean, it's not so critical. I would say, right, like most likely it'll work. I've not seen any a lot of developers, over 1,000 developers at least I've indirectly interacted with, who have tried something on these lines and they have not. I mean, this is an issue that I've never been flagged. So I don't think you will be struggling with it. GPU, though, obviously is not so critical here. And Docker is anyway recommended. So when you are using Docker and you're installing the dependency that is recommended, anyway you will have the same system as someone else. So what is the judging criteria for the projects? What is the bar that they have to match? There is obviously a judging criteria, and the bar that has to be matched. So there are, those things are very much clearly specified. For example, they must use the things that we're teaching. It can't be a random project that you might have done in the past and you simply are copy pasting it. It must leverage things that are taught here. Apart from that, secondly, it must also be novel in some way. You can't simply plagiarize somebody else's work and paste it, or what's there in the coursework, you simply replicate that itself on a GitHub repo. Those things are not very well appreciated. What you can do, by the way, is if you're finding it very difficult to build the last project, you can, however, use that particular project in a specific use case. Okay, now what does that mean? You will get a clear clarity on that once you go towards the module number 5 here, like the hands-on development. It will be very clear to you, so don't worry about it. Is it worth to do this course if I haven't completed deep learning completely? Yes, it's you can pretty much go about it. Okay. um Is Pathway linked to any co-pilot to take any advantage of that? Frankly, I am unsure about it. So um, you can ask. I mean, when you say take advantage of it, if you can be more specific about what you're aiming to do, we can try to answer this question within Discord community. Yeah, but I would rather skip this question because I'm not 100% sure as of now. Working. Okay. There's one more question around prerequisite knowledge that we have covered. Um, Currently working in an analytics company, have built a document assistant for a CPG. CPG, for those of you who do not know, is the same as FMCG, which is like the foods and everything that you consume, shampoos, etc. Have knowledge of Llama 2, Hugging Face, Chroma DB. Will this course be helpful? Yeah, this will be helpful. Extremely helpful, because what you know right now, by the way, this course will be very easy for you in that case. Okay. So so like, that's a good thing for you. I mean, you can, once you have released this, you can simply go to the last section, and what you can try to do as an interesting thing is, you can try to ingest is basically, for those of you who do not know, it's basically, you can, as a data source, you can try to go for more complex use cases. You can try to have multiple data sources. You can talk about using something like Kafka topics with dbzium. That's a more interesting thing to tackle, or using Confluent, Kafka, anything. So, given how much you have already covered, you can try using that, or you can, as it said, right, in this coursework, by the way, we recommend the use of, I mean, at some point, we've recommended the use of OpenAI GPT API, because deploying a model in itself can be a different challenge altogether. So, for the simplicity and focus of this coursework, we have recommended OpenAI API, but you can go about using open source tools also, and that will make it a more robust application for a specific use case. That's there. Yep. And another thing that can be possibly helpful is, let's say you're building something which is like a good project, and it gets featured. That will give you an extended reach within the community, which in my opinion, as a developer, it's a good enough thing. So yeah, now you can decide basis that whether this will be relevant for you or not. Okay, there's a good comment about your work, Arush. So hope this course will be really good, as we always experience with CIIT Guwahati. Love these guys' work, so that's for you. By the way, we love CIIT Guwahati too. That's why we have collaborated with them. Yeah, hopefully you'll like the coursework. And after completion of this course, how will it be helpful? Can go and apply that as an engineer. As if you want to build something of your own, you can go and use it. Technically, see, you have to understand right now, if any company is talking about, for example, Jishnu mentioned about vector DBs, right? Vector DBs, why are they used? They are used around, let's say you have an LM like ChatGPT. You want it to be used with a custom, let's say I'm the CEO of Netflix. Okay. And I want to ask an LLM that, okay, tell me the sales over the past 1 week. Now that needs to have data of my particular private, numbers, and at the same time, it will also need access to that information, some way for LLM to learn what is there in this particular revenue sales figures, right, of Netflix. So those kind of things, for you to make it happen, you will need RAG. And every company that you see out there which is under the pressure of using LLM, which is practically a massive sector of companies out there, they will need RAG. So that's a great skill set to have. And second aspect, that is real time. So this boot camp is called, building real time LLM applications, right? The real time applications is a extremely great thing to show on your profile, because some time ago, the CIO of, if I'm getting it correct, CIO of Goldman Sachs was asked what is the next big thing according to your opinion, and the thing he mentioned was moving from batch to real time, basically having real time data that is working with the LLMs, or not LLMs, but with any system out there. So when you're combining the two big things right now, that's obviously a great project to show on your profile. And or if you're able to build it for a company, that is obviously a great resource for that company also. So that is how it is. um yeah, companies have restriction over OpenAI due to privacy. We started with it but had to discontinue, switch to open source models. You're right. I mean, that is true with any tech stack for that matter. Some companies may have certain restrictions. OpenAI, why we have recommended it, by the way, is because you have that within Azure ecosystem as well, and that's quite well adopted in the cloud space. So enterprises technically trust Azure quite a lot. So if you're able to build using that, you can actually use it in a lot of use cases. This being said, Jishnu is correct. You can go about using open source models also, but that presents its own complexity. A recommendation from our end will be move step by step. Okay, like if you're an absolute beginner, then maybe start with OpenAI's API and then go forward to the next level of complexity. Well, I think we are towards the end of the question. We have answered every question that is out there. There's one comment. Not able to understand if there is. This is a question. Yes. Okay. So the question is if something like an auto. Okay, got it. Like a co-pilot will be able to give suggestions specific to pathway code. I don't think so. I have no idea, frankly. I have not used it. So I mean, I've not used Copilot for these use cases, so I'm not 100% sure. So yeah, slightly unsure about it. But one thing that I have definitely seen people do is that you can, because it's a Python code at the end of the day, if you're getting some standard errors, you can go and ask it. Or by the way, for building the first application, a basic thing within the framework that we are teaching, you need less than 30 lines of code. Okay. So the complexities that you may come across will be something which may be beyond Pathway most likely. So, and I think there is a chatbot within Pathway's Discord that does the same thing. But feel free to ask this question within Discord, and I'll be happy to answer in detail. But yeah, I think there's a special chatbot also for that, which can help you with those queries. But happy to clarify on that. Will not give a sure shot answer right now because I'm not 100% sure about it. Feel free to ask it later on. Cool. So with that, we are towards the end of the session. Thank you all for being here. Wish you all a very happy learning journey and a Merry Christmas ahead. And there's a good thing that is out there, the collaboration between such. This is not from Pathway. Ash Baba is not a part of Pathway. Just to give a context, the collaboration between such a great company and a great active club seems really pleasing. Thank you everyone for being here. It was great having you on the session. We look forward to seeing what you build through this course, and also your active participation during the coursework, seeing you help others. And thank you everyone. Bye bye.